all tea is fake. Or at least, from your point of view, it might as well be, because if you cannot tell what's real and what's fake. This is the conclusion I came to about a couple of years ago when I just saw the depth to which, you can buy 1920s Puerh, but how are you gonna know what's real and what's not? And by that time, I had a decent idea of what's real and what's not, but I could not explain. But so I really spent the last 2 years gaining the knowledge to really being able to explain to people also, okay, you look for this is genuine, this is not. So this is what the video of today is. We're gonna drink 3 teas. 2 of them has been sold as being 1950s, but they're loose leaf. Loose leaf usually 99% of the time, it's not what it says it is. 99% might even be generous, it might be more like 99.9. One of them is a cake. It's definitely from the late 60s to the 70s. We know that because, a cake is a little bit easier to identify. And anyway, there are a lot of fake cakes. At the end of the video, I will show you an even more egregious fake. It's as fake as a $47 bill. But the 3 teas we're going to drink right now are good. One of them is not what it says it is, but it's still good. So here they are. So this is a tea that was sold as 1950s. This is number 1. Number 2 is a cake. So this is a Tonqing reproduction from the late 60s up until the 70s, likely more the 70s. This has been in Hong Kong storage. You can still see there's quite a bit of frost on it. But besides that, it's authentic. And here's another tea that was sold as 1950s. I'll show you the comparison of the two. So out of these 2 teas sold as 1950s, one of them is really from the 50s, but it's not a Puerh. The other one is not from the 50s. We're gonna find out which is which. I'm going to use a purple clay teapot and a cup suited for old teas. These 3 are old teas that have been through natural or Hong Kong storage. So we're gonna make them in a way that's close to what I would normally be drinking. I think it's very important so that when you're drinking, you're not in comparison session, you can really tell what's real. Okay, so I'm gonna put 3 grams, as pre-measured in here, of each tea. I've broken up the cake to make it in loose leaf, to make it all similar as possible. So yeah, I'm gonna put 3 grams in each teapot. The teapots are the same. This one, the clay is the same, the shape is slightly different. It's not gonna make a big difference. The differences in taste are massive. And yeah, so we're gonna rinse them for about 30 seconds, and I'm gonna make a first infusion that's already gonna be 1 minute. Okay, so these are the steeping colors. It's number 1, number 2, number 3. You cannot tell a lot just by looking at the steeping color. But just for you to see. So I suppose the only thing you can tell is, this one was a cake, so even though I've broken it up, it's kind of normal. The first steep is a bit lighter, but these 2 were both, loose leaf. And in fact, it's kind of strange because the right one seemed darker. So if number 3 seemed darker than number 1, the dry leaf. But yet, number 1, the rinse, it's darker. Well, anyway, let's empty them out and let's actually try. So by now, the infusion has been, it's going to be at least 1.5 minutes. So it's extremely important to do a very long infusion for 2 reasons. One is, generally old tea, you can really, and in fact you really should steep it really, really hard. That's kind of the point of drinking old tea. There's no harshness anymore. And it's really, really pleasant to drink. And the second reason is because the differences in what is real and what's not are going to be revealed very, very clearly. So we can see now, number 1 is darker again. Number 2, the cake, it's about the same color as number 3, maybe slightly darker, hard to see. Okay, so let's try them. I'm gonna start maybe from the lighter one, number 3. The entry was quite clean, but then there is a pinch the top of my tongue where I touched. It's kind of pinching. Not very pleasant. Not terrible. Well. Arguably, this needed a longer rinse. Okay, fair enough. We'll try a second cup. Let's toss this. Number 2. Number 2 is the cake. This is more sweet, more round, more salivating. There is also a slight pinch at the top of the tongue. So this slight pinch very often is a storage issue. So we know that this cake has been stored in Hong Kong. It looks like that. And it's been stored in Malaysia dry for a good 20 years, but it's not been enough to dry it up yet. Yeah, also not the most pleasant. Although if you're not sensitive to storage flavor for both these teas, you might have skipped it. And anyway, this one feels better than number 3. Okay, we'll try a second steep of this one as well. Now, number 1. So this one is darker, so you would expect this one to be, either older or even much more show or wet storage like. Let's see what we get. This is way better. It moves in the mouth so much more freely than both other teas. The other tea, particularly number 3, was kind of stuck. This one is kind of splashing up, going down the throat. Kind of feel chi as well, but chi is kind of hard to tell when you're drinking 3 teas at a time. It can kind of be mixed together. Anyway, this is the only one I would still drink. The other 2, I would like, well, let's try another infusion because the first infusion was quite not that pleasant. Yeah, this is really nice. Okay, I'm gonna make a 2-minute infusion and I'll see you in a moment. Okay, just finishing out, just coming up to 2 minutes. So I want to say something about, I didn't like the first infusions of 3 and 2, but I must say I am pushing it on purpose because I want to see it's, 1, is this really old tea, and 2, was it really stored well? Otherwise, if I had them normally and I brew it a bit more gently, they're both pretty good teas. Like they're thick, round, rich, dark. They feel like a cross between a good Puerh and an old, wet to natural store Shang. Okay, so I'm gonna take out the second brew. I think we were about 2 minutes 15. This one goes in here. And we'll see what we find out from the second brew. Again, I'm stepping it long precisely because I want to show you how you can really validate what old tea, if it is old tea and if it's stored well, and if it's Shang Puerh or Shou Puerh or something else. I am, doing this on purpose. I'm not showing you how to enjoy old tea necessarily. You could brew it a little bit lighter, but one thing you can be sure of, genuine old tea that's been stored well, you can brew as long as possible and it will be fine. It will be completely comfortable to drink. If it's not, you have an issue. And by not comfortable, there's a few things like the pinch on the tongue, the throat feeling quite constricted, feeling of dryness, general feeling of like, what the hell is this? This doesn't taste like Puerh. This time I'm going to start with this one because I feared if I start with the other one, they might disturb my throat and tongue too much. Smell-wise, it's quite dark, feels like naturally stored Puerh, but but clean. Yeah, it's really remarkable how, despite it being darker than the other 2, it still feels more clean and less storagey. I like this a lot. This is genuine old tea. It's great. It's like, even though it's dark, it's really, really satisfyingly salivating. It makes your mouth feel fresh. Only old tea does that. If you make tea wet stored or Shou Puerh, it will not do that. If it's dark, it will make your mouth feel dry, possibly quite constricted as well, but certainly dry and more heat, as opposed to this feeling of freshness this one gives. And otherwise, it's not very dark, and then it's not aged a lot. Very good. Everything fits. Splash is high, it's clean, and it's dark. So the fact that it's dark and fresh tells to me this is a very, very old, generally old tea. Let's try number 2. So number 2 is the cake. Number 1 and 3 are the 2 loose leaf, which are, we don't know which one is which. By now you can probably figure it out. This is nice. This has got like a kind of some Shang bitterness complexity to it. So it's much cleaner than the first infusion was. Not bad. Not nearly as good as the other one. Not as old, but perhaps a little bit more complex, which is to be expected because it's a cake. Blended cakes will keep different flavors at the same time more. Not that that's necessarily a good thing, I'm just noticing how it is. And then let's try number 3. Number 3 was the other loose leaf. Also much better than the first infusion. Still, compared to the first one, it's a bit light in the it's like the first one is kind of the heaviest, the one that feels a little bit more thick and interesting and something is going on, more aftertaste. The second one is in the middle, the third one is less. Still, this one I can feel like I can drink more. For both second and third, I feel like this I can drink more of it. Yeah, there's a slight pinch on the tongue, but it's very minor. Okay, so now I can reveal you what 1 and 3 are. So 1, as you may have guessed, is a genuine tea. As it turns out, this is not Puerh, it's oolong. It was stored in Taiwan. So there was a fire in a oolong factory, and it's been in 1956. So this tea would have been made in 1956 on the first years before, and then it's been abandoned there for tens of years. And then it was taken out about in the 90s or 2000s. I need to check exactly when. Anyway, it's been kept dry since. And yeah, it's great. It really drinks like Puerh. It really got this flavor of kind of natural storage, clean Taiwan natural storage flavor is the best way of putting it. But besides that, it's really clean. It's really good tea. Nearly all Puerh is very old. It's been in Taiwan. Has been in Hong Kong before. So it's always going to be kind of even less clean than this. Or, perhaps it's something like Songping from the 20s. And then, yes, it's been kept dry for 50 years. And by now it's dried up, even though it was in Hong Kong. This was never in Hong Kong. So it feels like one of the cleanest things you can get as old tea, certainly from Taiwan. There's very, very little old tea that was not stored in Hong Kong to start with. So yeah, this one we know, it's 1956. It was bought at an auction from this factory in I think it was 90s or 2000s, I need to check. So we know exactly what it is. Now, number 3. This was sold to me as 1950s Shang Puerh from actually a very, very famous and respected Taiwanese merchant. This is just to show how nobody knows this stuff. Like, these people are famous. These people move so many millions USD a month of tea. It's crazy. And yet, yeah, they cannot figure it out. Actually, if you look at the leaf, it looks... I will show you the leaf again, but even from the leaf, you can tell it's Shou Puerh. So this is Shou Puerh that was made. It's generally old Shou Puerh, so it might be like a good 80s or 90s Shou Puerh. The material is also not bad, but it is not Shang. You will see it from the wet leaf as well. We will analyze the leaf at the end. But yeah, it's not Shang. For the leaf, I'll tell you later, but that will be the final proof. But for now, from a taste point of view, Shang should be stronger than this tea is. Of course, people started only making Shou Puerh in batches in experiment in 70s. Extremely rare to actually buy 70s Shou Puerh. 80s is going to be where you start buying Shou Puerh, and even that is really rare. The cake... What do I have to say about the cake? The cake is very nice. Unfortunately, the storage can still be felt even after 20 years of Malaysian storage. Speaking of which, if you ever have an idea, oh, I'm gonna get a Hong Kong storage cake and just dry it up at home, keep in mind, even after 20 years, it's not cleaned up. It's not bad, but it's not that satisfying. But I served it for this because it was good to have something that's verifiably definitely Puerh from a certain age. So I'm drinking cold now. This one is thicker, feels better. I can feel a bit of pinching on the lips as well. Yeah, these two teas, because of storage issue and because one of them is actually a show pu'er and not a sheng, a good show pu'er, but a show pu'er, will not be as fully comfortable as a tea that's never had show processing will be. Yeah, I think that's everything I have to say on the taste side, and now we're going to take a look at the leaves. Okay, so looking at the leaf, we have number 1 here, we got number 3 here, and we got the cake there. Okay, so let's look first at number 1 and 3 dry leaf. You can see that number 3 on the right, it's it's got much more reddish tones. So this is a kind of dead giveaway that this is show pu'er. A natural store tea, whether it's pu'er or not, whether it's pu'er or oolong, whatever, we're gonna look more like this. So again, if you want to see the difference, much more red tones on the right, that's show pu'er, and then much more greenish tones on the left, that's sheng something, pu'er, sheng, oolong. Looking at the leaves, so we got 1 on the left, the cake on the top, and the number 3 on the right. So you can see, I hope you can see, 3 is a bit blacker. So show pu'er leaves will be black, like this. In fairness, the other 2 teas are also quite dark. But, well, anyway, when I see it from here, they're like 10%, a little bit more green rather than black. So this is one of the key differences. Looking at the cake, again, you can see there's quite some whitish everywhere, so you can see this has been through Hong Kong storage. Okay, so looking at this wet leaf is not super helpful, but if you have something that's meant to be like a 1980s tea, it's actually gonna be, and it's not gonna be through wet storage, the leaves are gonna be quite a bit more green and not black. Leaves black, full black like this, indicate either show pu'er or very aggressive natural or wet storage. And the last thing that we can do is take a look at the brew liquid. So number 1, the generally old tea, you see that it's got a ring effect, which is much brighter than the other. So the ring on the outside is brighter than the inside. The contrast on the first tea, the oldest one, is much bigger than on the second tea. And the third tea, even less than the second. So that's a very easy way you can tell. So you can see the second tea has a little bit more contrast, the ring is a bit more brighter and evident, but on the third tea, you can see how much the contrast is. It's, it's really quite a difference. Yes, it's darker, but also the contrast is much stronger. So number 3 is also quite dark, but the contrast is nothing, it's kind of almost uniform if you compare it to tea number 1. To recap then, we just saw about the contrast of the liquid. The more of a contrast in the ring there is, the older the tea is. When you look at the brew color, you might think the darker it is, the older it is, but then you cannot tell if it's show pu'er or not. One of the easier ways to tell something, the more show or the more wet or natural storage it has, the darker the brilliance of the tea. So for instance, the cake is quite a bit brighter than even the older tea. If you compare to this, actually the tea number 3 is not that light either, but 3 has got quite a bit more, the cake has got quite a bit more brilliance. So the liquid, we saw on the leaves, so black leaves means, full black means either show pu'er or some kind of very aggressive, natural or wet storage. But then more importantly, taste-wise, now that I pointed out to you how you can see it, you can't forget it. Actually, we get in trouble because we share informations like this. When I shared a video about how to tell real, genuine ancient pu'er, quite a lot of Taiwanese friends and some Taiwanese people I didn't know as well got in touch and be like, look, People have millions invested in not really gushu teas. They're gonna hate you. What are you doing? Let's try them again once more. I'm gonna start from number 1, the oldest tea. Wow. So I brewed this for like 5 minutes just to show you like the contrast. I put some new leaf. Yeah, even though it's cold, it's like, it's thick. It's still salivating. Number 2, the cake. This feels so much more bitter, and not just bitter, astringent. Bitter is fine, but astringent. You can tell it's not nearly as old as the other tea. Number 3. Yeah, also quite astringent. So yeah, with the taste is really the easiest way. You brew it really, really long and it will tell you the truth. A very good Puerh might feel smooth sometimes, not often, because actually if you brew it a lot, you will get storage issues. But it might feel smooth, but it might not have any bitterness or any power. But anyway, when you got to the level of brewing it for like 5 minutes, really, it will not feel smooth either. The genuine old tea will feel smooth. Okay, that was everything. Now the last thing is a bonus on the tea that's fake. There's a $47 bill. Okay, so here on the left I have a genuine 1970 Puerh cake, store dry in Malaysia. On the right I have a $47 bill. So this one was, I went to this merchant. Thankfully this was not a famous person, but a nobody in Taiwan. And he brewed the tea and it felt kind of quite okay. It felt like generally old tea, but once I drank it, once I drank this at home, I realized, so this is meant to be 1960s. This was what it was sold at. Never mind that it's kind of a bit too bright and brilliant and it doesn't look quite right. But even without that, it's, yeah, when I drank it, if I brew it for 30 seconds, there's no flavor whatsoever. What he was doing is that he was brewing it for like 5 minutes or 3 minutes with like filling up the teapot with an outrageous amount of leaf. And then it kind of tasted okay, kind of tasted convincing. So what was happening there is that, unlike this real guy here, where, you put 3 grams and you do 30 seconds and you get a really long session. With this, you need to use like 10 grams and you're gonna get maybe 2 or 3 cups out of it. So what they did, it's, they simply, aged the leaf as loose leaf for a few years. In a really, really wet environment, and after that they pressed it and they made it dry for at least 5 years to make it not have the Puerh flavor. And if you brew it in that way, it does make a convincing fake. I didn't even tell the guy, and he just kept on spamming me, and he'd be like, "Oh, do you want to buy more of these amazing 1960s teas?" I think he might not even realize. So yeah, this is just to say again how deeply this really goes. How, yeah, even so many people in Taiwan, so many people in Asia don't know. And, if nobody tells you, what chance do you have at home to know what's the real taste of good tea? Somebody might tell you, oh yeah, old tea is, it's always going to be really weak. You need to brew it for 30 seconds with 10 grams in a tiny pot. And that's the only way in which it will taste okay. No, not really. Okay, so these are the $47 bill and the genuine cakes. I hope all of this was helpful. This is all the knowledge I have on the matter. It's gained over a long, long time. And yeah, here I pass it to you freely as it was passed to me. Good luck. I'm not going to try the $47 bill and the real tea because it's very, very simple. You brew them in the same way. You will realize like one is extremely weak and the other one has a lot of power. Genuinely dry store Puerh will have still a lot of bitterness, complexity, and will go on for a long time. It brews for like 15 steeps easily, and it's delightful. It's kind of like this, but even better. That cake is a few thousand pounds, while this is quite a bit more affordable. And even like this cake is a few thousand pounds, even though for the storage it does. Thankfully, I have one for this kind of experiments, but it's not something I would normally buy. Yeah, a lot of these teas are extremely hard to come by, even if you can tell what's the real stuff. Then finding and buying the real stuff. But what's even more outrageous is a lot of the fake stuff is also really expensive. I mean, the $47 bill had also a $47 price. It was like 200 USD. I kind of knew I was walking into it, but I really wanted to know what it was. But yeah, you might spend a lot for wet stored cake, which is not really that satisfying, even though it's authentic. Or very often you might spend a lot for tea that's actually fake. And if you cannot tell, you're gonna have to trust. But, you know, it's kind of with experience. You know, if you're here, you can tell if the people that know what they're doing about here. But if you're trying to buy tea here, very difficult. That's why we try to share information as much as possible, because we do want to sell tea here, but we don't want we don't want you to just trust, oh, you know, I said so. We want to show what the truth is. And then you can use it to buy tea wherever you like. We're confident, actually, we know what we're doing. And the quality we're doing, it's really high. So there's no need of hiding knowledge. In fact, it's very good for me if everybody suddenly has this knowledge. Everybody suddenly knows what real Gushu is, what real old tree tea is. And it's not just following whatever random charts. So yeah, that was the point for me of doing these videos. I really want people to know. You know, there's the selfless part. I've been given this knowledge for free, but there's also the more self-interest part. If you know what good tea is, you are likely to buy good tea as opposed to fakes. All right, that's really all. I think I waffled on for quite a lot. I'm quite high from all the teas I had. Great. Good. By now, hopefully, you can identify good teas. Bye.